continuing to talk about, I'm going to continue from chapter 15 of my book, The Hosea Prophecy. Again, what's going on in the world when when Russia says, President Dmitry Medvedev says that Russia will aim missiles at the United States missile defense sites in Europe if Washington, D.C. fails to address Russians' concerns on its missile defense plans. Medvedev said that the Russians will deploy missiles in its westernmost region and other areas if Russia and NATO fail to reach a deal on the U.S.-led missile defense plans. He also said in a televised statement Wednesday that Moscow may opt out of the new START arms control deal with the United States and halt other arms control talks if the U.S. proceeds with its plans to deploy its missile shield in Europe. Russia considers the U.S. shield as a threat to its nuclear forces. Now, you do know that while President Dmitry Medvedev is pointing fingers at the United States and getting ready to point missiles at the United States, meanwhile, he has put 2 battleships, 2 aircraft carriers, 2 battleships, where in the Syrian waters to protect President Assad, as President Assad continues to murder his own people, has killed over 4,000 of his own people, another 3,000 of them are missing, shooting grandma in the head, putting snipers in buildings, rolling out tanks in the middle of the streets of Damascus, planting landmines around the borders between Syria and Lebanon and Syria and Turkey and Syria and Jordan, creating a constant state of chaos as he tries to maintain power of his Muslim monarchy that he and his father have ruled for a long time. What does Russia do? They put ships in the water to protect the guy, even though the United States of America's President Barack Obama said Assad must go. And England's David Cameron said Assad must go. And Nicolas Sarkozy of France said, Assad must go. Matter of fact, the entire 22 nation of the Arab League said Assad must go. And if that wasn't enough, so is the United Nations and the European Union. So now you have the battle lines being drawn. America says Assad must go. Russia puts power in the water and says, not so quick. Then you talk about Iran. Iran and Ahmadinejad of Iran says he wants to blow Jerusalem off the face of the map. And has asked Russia to build a nuclear power plant for him. And paid Russia $1 billion to build this plant, including 163 semi-truckloads of enriched uranium. Russia built the plant, sold them the truckloads, and is trying to help them get it built. Meanwhile, Israel, knowing that when it's built, they're supposed to blow up their city of Jerusalem, did some cyber warfare and messed up the system and kind of delayed it for 6 months. Meanwhile, America's saying, you guys can't do that. Now here we are. Assad is trying to destroy and just maintain power. And Iran's President Ahmadinejad believes he should blow up Jerusalem to usher in the 12th Imam, the Ali Mahdi, while my dog is snoring. Okay, you got your coffee? And while that's going on, it's amazing to me how loyal dogs are. This dog wants to sleep at my feet and snore while I'm on the air. What? Anyway, back to the situation. While all this is going on, you can see the battle lines. The United States, even Turkey, Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, France, Germany, Canada, Australia, Romania, Poland, the NATO forces are all coming together saying, look, President Ahmadinejad of Iran, you cannot have nuclear weapons. But guess what? China and Russia have both said, hold it a minute. Hold it a minute. Why not? Do you see the battle lines being drawn for World War III. Prophesied right here in the Bible. If you go read Ezekiel 38, it tells you that Russia and Turkey will even jump ship, and Iran. That these guys will come together with Egypt and Ethiopia, or Libya and Ethiopia, and they will begin to build a coalition to go to war with Israel in the greatest battle in the history of the world, called the Battle of Armageddon, the Battle of Gog and Magog, the final battle. Now, I'm going to go back to the 15th chapter of my book, the Hosea Prophecy, I'm reading today. And let me just jump back in about middle of the chapter. North Korea's Kim Jong-il has made many, many threats against his neighboring country of South Korea. The two nations ended their 1950 and 1953 Korean War with a ceasefire, not a peace treaty. The two nations have had conflicts over the last 58 years, as Kim Jong-il and his deceased father have ruled this communist country with a rod of iron. North Korea has attacked ships and planes, the islands, shot at border patrols, made assassination attempts upon the leaders of South Korea. Despite the attacks and the rumors and the outright threats, South Korea has flourished as a powerful democracy and capitalistic nation. This, of course, has not stopped the rumors of wars. Matthew 24, verse 7, the Bible says, "For nation shall rise against nation." This phrase was a prophetic look into the human condition furthered by Jesus. As one, again, he knew the dark depths of the deepest part of the human heart. No matter how sensible it is not to fight one another, greed, power, and the thought of the advantage one might acquire over another keeps us warring with one another. Christ knew nations would continue to rise against nations. North Vietnam attacked South Vietnam, sparking a 9-year war. Russia attacked Afghanistan and fought with them for 10 years, but could not defeat this Himalayan nation, as the tribal warriors were able to defend and hold off the powerful communist country. And during the 1991 Persian Gulf War, Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, the butcher from Baghdad, attacked and took over the little oil-rich country of Kuwait. And this was simply to steal the oil wells and to declare his power as the king of Persia. Go read Ezekiel 38, folks. American President George H.W. Bush, however, was not going to let that stand. And in early January of 1991, the Allied forces of 32 coalition countries attacked Iraq and forced the Iraqi army under Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. President Bush Sr. could have marched right into Baghdad and removed Hussein from power, but instead decided to send President Hussein and all other Middle Eastern nations a very clear message. Don't try taking over the oil again. For the next 10 years, that message was clearly understood. But as it says in Matthew 24, verse 7, and kingdom against kingdom. This phrase is the most profound in the verse. Nations have competed for centuries to gain land, slaves, natural resources. Kingdom against kingdom is the spiritual war of darkness versus light. This statement also could be radical jihadist Muslims attacking Jews and Christians. This spiritual war is the battle for the souls of mankind. And on the morning of September 11, 2001, Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden were just names to most Americans. And the 4 hijacked American planes and the appalling video feed showing the twin towers of the World Trade Center burning and collapsing awakened the frightening realization that a devil was among us. The theology of radical Islam has raised its ugly head and bitten the hand that has been feeding it. Muslim militants, or jihadists, had attacked America, and almost 3,000 people lost their lives. These ministers of Mecca, the murderous motives of the Muslims, had brought about an attack so dreadful that America would require a strong leader or fall to the darkness of radical Islam. What's going to come down to the end here is dark against light. Jesus against the devil. I'll finish